Hello friends, thank you for watching my video. Today I want to talk about the 7 keys to mastering addiction, or this chapter will basically be about mastering addiction. My soul was called to talk about this. First and foremost, if you're battling with some form of addiction, I get it. We all have things that we're addicted to, or in this world it's not easy to escape the temptation, but it's up to you. If you're watching this means you probably realize that you have some form of addiction and you want to better your life. And that's my goal in this world, is to help those become the best version of yourself. And that starts with, do you want to become the best version of yourself? What are you doing to better your life? What are you doing to better yourself? What are you doing to better those around you? And the main primary 2 addictions that people have are addiction with some type of a substance or drug, maybe pot or pills, or there's many others, and alcohol. And there's also addiction to sugar. Some people have an eating problem. And my goal is to help you. But in order for me to help you, you must want to help yourself. A lot of us have had people in our lives whose lives were ruined. Families were ruined by somebody's addiction. And it's sad. You see it all over the world. You see it in America, where families are destroyed by a loved one's addiction. You know, I've seen it in my own personal life, guys, with alcoholism, where somebody chose alcohol and in numbing themselves in that temporary fix almost every other day than their family. And it's a sad thing to say, because I've seen it in this world where I see, I work in the bar and restaurant industry, guys. And I've seen people with severe addiction to alcohol. And they work 40 hours a week, and every day they're in that bar and they're drinking, and they're spending all their resources to feeding their addiction than taking care of their family, or they have nothing to show for their life because they spent all their life, all their wealth or money on drugs and alcohol. We also see it with people who have great fortunes and they lose all their fortune because they spent it all on their addictions. And so the keys to addiction recovery is, step 1 is, the key number 1 is to recognize that you have a problem. To recognize if you have a problem and decide to make a change. And some people are in denial. They don't realize that they're drinking 5, 6, 7 times a week is a problem. Or smoking herb 5, 7 days a week is a problem. Or doing whatever addiction it is a problem. They think it's normal. They think, I'm fine. So I say this. It's okay to dabble. And, I drink occasionally, but I don't let it control my life. When your addiction starts to control your life, controls your mind, and starts to steer you off your life's journey, then that's a problem. When you're not living up to your fullest potential, when you're hurting other people due to your addiction, when you're hurting yourself due to your addiction, that's a problem. And so you have to recognize that you have a problem. You have to admit to yourself, sit with yourself and say, hey, I have a problem. I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm addicted to drugs, whatever it may be. Maybe it's I'm addicted to eating those cookies and cakes every day and I can't lose weight. So you recognize that you have a problem, and then you have to make the change. You can't just think about it, hey, because some people realize, hey, I got a problem. I'm addicted to alcohol. But yet they don't put that bottle down. They don't do anything to stop them from doing that particular behavior. So my goal is to recognize you have a problem. And then say it out loud. Hey, I have a problem with alcohol. And start admitting that to yourself. And then key number 2, explore your addiction treatment. So key number 2 is get treatment, get help. There's tons of self-help books out there to read up on. There's videos and podcasts out there. You could go to a psychologist or a doctor. You could go to family and friends and be like, hey, I have this problem and I need help. So I encourage you all, like, even if you're afraid to go out and get help, stop being afraid. Go out and get help. And I'm going to just go off a little bit. You guys, one of the things is willpower. When you're coming and dealing with the addiction. Mind over matter. If you have a problem with some type of addiction, then 1, you recognize it, and then 2, try to avoid the things that trigger your addiction. One of the things is people and places. If you know if you're addicted to alcohol, stop going to that bar. If you're addicted to alcohol, don't walk down the liquor aisle at the grocery store. And then avoid the people who encourage you to do that addiction. Like, most alcoholics have other friends who are alcoholics, and they're like, hey, let's hang out, let's just drink. Avoid those people. You want to be with people that encourage you to be your greatest version of yourself. And I have friends who like to drink, but they don't encourage me to do it every day. So avoid environments and people that encourage your addiction. It's sad because, guys, I see it every day. I have people reach out to me on my emails and stuff like that. Hey, I'm battling this and I need help. But ultimately, it comes down to willpower. They say that addiction is a disease, that you can't help it. Guys, think about this. 90% of the people growing up in America go through kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school without an addiction. Why? Because that drug or that alcohol is not introduced to them. So they go their first part of their life without being addicted to any type of substance. It's learned. When you allow that substance or that negative behavior into your life and you get hooked on it, that's on you. You can learn to say no. You can learn to walk away from temptations in your life. But it's willpower. Making the choice like, hey, no, I am not going to drink that beer. No, I'm not going to take that pill. No, I'm not going to smoke that herb. Because, guys, I walk the path of spirituality, right? That's what I do. I learned over the years to master myself. And I've learned that in this life, we're not just human beings. We are spiritual human beings. And certain substances affect how we feel and think. When you smoke herb every day, you're no longer thinking in basically your mind and your emotions get captured in a way, and they're being affected or influenced by that herb or that drug that you're on or that alcohol that you're on. And you're no longer thinking clear thoughts. You're no longer feeling clear emotions. They get muddled, so to speak, in life. And how can you live your greatest life? How can you make the best wealth or get that house or that fancy car or that ideal relationship when you're taking in substances that muddle your thoughts and your emotions? And we've all been there. I used to smoke herb a lot back in the day, and I made bad decisions because I was under the influence. I was no longer my highest self. So I wasn't thinking the best thoughts or the best feelings, and I made decisions on my relationships or my life when I was under the influence. And guess what? How that turns out? It always backfires on you guys. You see that where people are at the bar and they're drinking and they're having fun and they're partying, and then they hook up with somebody and they form a relationship with somebody. And they enter into that relationship under the influence. And then that's their things. They both go out and drink and are always under the influence. Guess where and then usually those relationships are toxic. Very toxic and can ruin your life. But if you enter into a relationship in clear mind, clear emotion, and you think clear thoughts, then you know. Guys, no longer do I allow other substances or addictions to affect my thinking and feeling. My thinking and feeling come from my highest self, or from a clear mind and clear emotions. So ultimately, when I make a decision on something, it's from my highest version of myself, so I get the best results. Do you want the best results in your life? Ask yourself, have you ever made a decision that drastically affected your life because you were under the influence? Are your mind or are your emotions clear? That's crucial. Is your mind and emotions clear? Or are your addictions steering your life in some form, shape, or form? If you don't have the ideal life, if you're not happy with yourself, there's something off within your soul. Because that's one of the biggest things, is your soul screams at you. Your inner knowing, your intuition goes, hey, wake up, there's something here. And you intuitively know, hey, there's something wrong, or I shouldn't be doing this, but then you suppress it, and you suppress it, and you ignore it. And that's why the inner voice over time gets numb, and you don't hear it anymore because you keep suppressing it over the years, and now your intuition and your inner self is being muffled. So you don't hear it, so it's not really guiding you. Your goal is to hear your inner voice, your inner knowing within you, and bring it to the surface and listening to it daily, and then your life will start being guided for the highest outcome, the best outcome. When you constantly do drugs or alcohol, you are basically numbing yourself, and you're numbing that inner voice, that Holy Spirit within you, and shutting yourself off from Source. Source is whatever it means to you guys. I'm spiritual, so that to me that's God. Some could say that's universal intelligence. And the coolest thing, when you live on the sober life, or the clear mind, clear emotions, and you live a healthy lifestyle, you start tapping into the source within yourself, and it gets louder and louder, and more blessings and miracles happen to you daily. It's a powerful thing, guys. And also, I want to mention this. You see this right here behind me? That's the chakra system, the light system. But we all have an auric field around us. And that auric field you can look at is like a force field or shield. But over time, if you constantly take in substances or alcohol or smoke herb or whatever, that it puts holes in that shield. That shield protects you from the external unseen world. Psychic attack, negative thinking from other people, negative entities, in Christianity, it's demons or angels. And over time, if you constantly allow your auric field to be weakened, then that allows external forces to influence you. That's why alcohol is called spirits, guys. The ancients knew this. That's why it's mentioned all the time. If you study the ancient cultures and religions about the wickedness of alcoholism or alcohol or drugs, because it allows you to almost be possessed. I say this in some of my other stuff, guys. What you consume consumes you. And especially when I've worked in bar and restaurants, I've actually seen people, because I'm conscious and I'm spiritual minded, and I have eyes to see and ears to hear. I see people who, in my opinion, have been taken over for that temporary moment of night where they literally come in and I've known them, they come in, I've seen people who I know their regular self, who they're out of, like, their natural go-to self, who they are. They usually are a good person or something. But once they have that alcohol in them, they literally turn into something else, and then their eyes get glossed over, and when you talk to them, you realize, hey, I'm not talking to the guy or girl that I know, but something else. And then those people, when they get taken over, like, it's possible, and when those people when they get taken over, so to speak, they do tend to do negative things. They make bad choices. And I ask you guys, have you ever been under the influence of something, or a drug or alcohol, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, man, I can't believe I did that? You know, like, I've been there. I blacked out before. And I woke up and my buddies were like, hey, you did this and this. And I wasn't proud of that moment. So be mindful of what you consume, guys, because also your auric field is energy, basically. You look at it as energy, a shield. Higher vibration. A high vibing person is a positive, loving human being, got a strong auric field. But a person in depression, anxiety, fear, doubt, addiction has a low, like, negatively charged auric field, and it allows things to enter. This world is not just of flesh and blood, it's of principalities and wickedness in high places in the book of Ephesians. There's the seen world that you perceive out there, but there's the unseen world that's also at play. You got to be mindful. And so in this world, you got to be mindful of what's out there. So that was my tangent for a second, but key number 3, find support for your addiction recovery. So that could be a good friend that's, hey, you go to them like, hey, I don't want to drink no more, or I want to not smoke herb anymore. I want to get healthy. You go to that support system. You find support system. There's AA meetings if that would work. But get help. Find that support team. Go to your parents and like, let it out. Hey, this is what's going on in my life, and I want to make a change. Key number 4, learn healthy ways to cope with your stress. One of the biggest things in this life with addiction is something happens, some type of external event happens. May it be somebody triggering you, or something triggers you emotionally or stresses you out, and your go-to, instead of dealing with it or handling that situation in a healthy way, you numb yourself, numb yourself, right? You don't want to feel what's going on. So you turn to that addiction, that drug or alcohol or that sugar, to numb yourself. Because that's one of the other reasons why people are so addicted, because they have a whole bunch of emotional trauma within themselves. Instead of doing the inner work to heal thyself, to look within and shine a light on that darkness within them, or those uncontrolled emotions, and bring them to the surface and heal them, accept them, and do the spiritual work necessary, they say, nope, all this emotional trauma, keeping it buried, and I numb it with alcohol and drugs. One of the best things for when I got healthy, and I've always been healthy for the most part, guys. But one of the best things I did is I started recognizing my own emotional trauma and why I used to smoke herb a lot. And what caused that smoking is I had emotional trauma, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I just numbed it. I had a rough childhood, so to speak. Like, my parents weren't always there. And there's certain things that happen in people's lives that cause emotional trauma. You got to heal that trauma. So learn healthy ways to cope with your stress. When I get upset or angry, my healthy way, instead of me lashing out with somebody or whatever the scenario, I go for a walk. I realize, hey, I'm upset right now. I go for a walk. That's my healthy way of dealing with it. And then after a 15-minute walk, I'm not so angry no more. So Key number 4, learn healthy ways to cope with your stress. Key number 5, keep triggers, so meaning alcohol and drugs and cravings, keep your cravings in check. Say no. If you do something for 2 weeks, it becomes a habit. So if you can manage to go without herb or that pill or that drug for 2 weeks, it becomes a habit. So stay away from those people out there that encourage you to do those drugs and alcohol. Stay away from those environments that keep you to do those drugs and alcohol. Stay away from those things that trigger those emotional traumas in you. Keep them in check. Key number 6, build a meaningful life, not dependent on substances. Build a meaningful life. And you can start to build a meaningful life when you take control of your emotions and mind. And guys, I write books, so if you want to dive deeper, in my own books, I write about my own journeys, how I worked on mastering my mind and my emotions, and self-help and becoming my best version of myself. So those books are Hidden Knowledge Gained Wisdom, Hidden Knowledge Gained Insight, and Hidden Knowledge Path to the Divine. And you can find those on Amazon. Sorry for that tangent, but my books, I've actually had people reach out and say, hey, I read your book and it really helped me. But build a meaningful life. And I'm not judging. If you're watching this and, people, if that drugs and alcohol, that's what you do, that's fine. That is fine. I'm not judging. I'm trying to keep an open mind. Everyone has free will. They could choose that path if they want. Step 7, don't let relapse keep you down. Repeat these steps until you succeed. So everyone, battling addiction, you have relapses sometimes. You give into that alcohol or that drug. Maybe you've been good for a month or two, and then something happens and it triggers an emotional response in you, and you give into that addiction. Maybe you have a bender or something. It's okay. Instead of beating yourself up, say, hey, I messed up, I accept that, but I choose to move forward. And lastly, this is what I want to leave with this message. I was trying to keep this short and brief, so it's not me rambling on for an hour. In the end, it's up to you. In the end, it's up to you. You could go, I used to have a friend who was battling addiction, and one day he comes to me and he goes, Eric, I need your help. I don't want to do this no more, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I'll do everything I can to help you. And I tried and tried. But in the end, he kept making, when he was around me, he was good. But then when he was gone, stopped hanging out with me, he would do bad stuff. And years down the road, that friend started ejecting stuff into his arm. And he was robbing his friends, doing bad things. It almost ruined his life. And he came back into my life, and I was like, he was so far gone. I said, hey, I can't let you in my life, man. Why? Because he was so toxic. And it's sad to see somebody you love destroy themselves because they're addicted to that thing. And for those who are dealing with addiction, think of your friends and family. If you truly love them, and if they truly love you, they're hurting inside because they see or knew the person you were before, and they saw that blossoming rose and knew who you were, and then now they see a decaying rosebud plant that's no longer in its prime and is blossoming. Because your addictions hurt other people. Your bad decisions that you make while you're underneath the influence in your life hurt other people. So be mindful of that. And you're hurting yourself. Not only you're hurting yourself, but you're hurting others around you. So make a change. Say today, I'm going to change my life. But it's up to you. Master your mind, master your emotions. You're one thought, one decision away from changing your life for the better. Are you happy having a okay life with dealing with your addictions? Or do you want a better life? Do you want to become the best version of yourself? If you want to become the best and greatest version of yourself, then you have to change thyself. changing thyself also means changing the external world around you by maybe you have to cut off certain friends. Maybe you got to stop going to certain environments. Maybe you have this um, uh, certain places or hobbies that you like, but in that environment it is bad for you. So you need to change your hobbies as well. If you found this video helpful, please share, please like and subscribe. One step at a time, though, guys. One step at a time, and I pray that you all find your inner self, find your greatest self. God bless you guys. Amen.